Travis Hunter's first preseason game wasn't just another exhibition snap. It was a small, bright punctuation mark on one of the more intriguing experiments the NFL has seen in years. Can a player legitimately play both ways in the modern era? Friday night answered one question emphatically: yes. Hunter officially stepped on the field on offense and defense in a regular NFL setting. But the more consequential questions are the harder ones. How sustainable is this? What does it mean for roster construction, Hunter's development, and the Jaguars' season-long plans? Start with the obvious. The moment matters. This is the modern game. Since the rise of specialization in the 1970s and the full professionalization of rosters, two-way players on a consistent basis have been essentially extinct in the NFL. A handful of position switches and rare gadget snaps aside, you haven't seen a team seriously deploy a starting caliber player on both sides of the ball for decades. So Hunter lining up with Trevor Lawrence in offensive packages and then stepping out as a defensive starter is historic in form and function. For the Jaguars, and for fans who love football's old-school grit, there's a romance to the idea of an athletic unicorn contributing everywhere. That said, history and romance don't win games on their own. The film and the box score from this first game are the more critical read. Offensively, Hunter ran with the starters for 2 drives and recorded 2 catches for 9 yards. Not explosive, not game-changing on the stat sheet, but he showed the basic competence you'd want: route discipline, hands that weren't an issue, and enough route tree understanding to be a viable short yardage target. 2 drives doesn't prove anything, but it's an encouraging baseline for a rookie who's balancing double duties. Defensively, the first look was ugly. The starters were gashed by the Steelers' backup unit on the opening drive. Hunter wasn't on the field then, and that's important to parse. Early preseason drives can be chaotic and not telling. When Hunter did rotate in during the second defensive sequence, the Jaguars unit steadied and forced a punt. He missed a tackle, a reminder the fundamentals still need refinement, but he was part of a defense that improved within its second look. For a young corner operating in multiple roles, showing the ability to settle in and help the unit stabilize is a promising sign. So where does that leave us? There are 3 realistic frames to interpret this debut. Frame 1, short-term flashes, long-term specialization. This is the conservative take. Hunter can be used in controlled offensive packages, H-back flexes, short yardage alignments, gadget plays, to exploit mismatches without disrupting his primary development as a cornerback. That's low risk, high reward. He gets to keep refining coverage technique, press mechanics, and film study while contributing as a situational receiver. For teams wary of overworking a rookie, it's a sensible compromise. Frame 2, a hybrid role that evolves. Here, Hunter's snaps could grow on offense in specific structures that don't compromise his defensive starter reps. Think predetermined sub-packages, 10 to 12 plays per game where he's a receiver while limiting the mental load of full offensive installs. This model asks coaches to script his work tightly, manage his load, and keep him fresh for defensive assignments. The Jaguars staff would need excellent communication between offensive and defensive coaches, and maybe an innovative sports science plan to make this viable long-term. Frame 3, the full two-way fantasy. This is the romantic endgame where Hunter genuinely shoulders substantive snaps on both sides as a starter. In reality, that's the hardest path. The NFL today is faster, schemes are more complex, and mastering the mental catalog for one position is a huge task. Doing that for 2 is onerous. The wear and tear considerations, increased contact, more plays per game, injury risk, plus the film study load, make this an unlikely full-season model unless the team intentionally sacrifices either offensive or defensive complexity around him. There's also the roster and financial calculus. Hunter's unique value is that he can flex between roles, which gives the Jaguars optionality. If he proves reliable as a situational receiver, the team can repurpose a roster spot, maybe carry an extra defensive back or a specialist, because Hunter already fills multiple niches. But the risk is that if he's overused, neither role maximizes his upside. For young players, long-term development almost always beats short-term novelty. Another factor, opponent adjustment. NFL coordinators are pragmatic and opportunistic. If Hunter becomes a meaningful offensive threat, opponents will dedicate game planning resources to neutralize him. Shadow cornerbacks, bracket routes, double teams, and that will change the cost-benefit analysis of using him two ways. Conversely, if he's merely a decoy, defensive coordinators might test him physically and mentally when he's on the other side of the ball. The chess match can escalate quickly. Finally, there's the human component. Hunter is still a young player. The physical toll, the psychological load, and the expectations will be heavy. The Jaguars' staff must protect him from burnout and allow him to develop confidence playing one rep at a time. Coaches who have seen two-way experiments before will caution patience. The best outcome is gradual growth with clear guardrails. So what should we expect in week 2 and beyond? More controlled uses. Expect the Jaguars to script Hunter's offensive snaps carefully and to evaluate how he performs against tougher looks. Expect defensive reps to remain his core focus. The organization will likely prioritize keeping him healthy and improving fundamentals, tackling, footwork, coverage technique, while selectively leaning on his offensive gift for high-leverage plays. In short, Travis Hunter's debut was historic, and it was promising. It didn't answer every question about sustainability or ceiling, but it did prove one essential truth. The modern NFL still makes room for bold ideas if the player and coaches execute them thoughtfully. The autograph on the history book is inked now. What remains is the hard work that either turns a novelty into a new positional blueprint or preserves it as a brilliant one-off. Either way, Hunter just made the league a more interesting place. Travis Hunter made history in Jacksonville's preseason opener, and he did it the old-fashioned way, by doing something nobody's seen in the modern NFL era. The Jaguars gave Hunter snaps on both offense and defense Friday night against the Pittsburgh Steelers, turning a training camp experiment into a preseason first that immediately grabbed headlines. Hunter lined up with the Jaguars starters on offense and played alongside Trevor Lawrence during the early drives. He caught 2 passes for 9 yards while the offense moved the ball into field goal range on both possessions. The snaps were limited. Starters came off after just 2 drives, but Hunter showed the quick hands and route awareness that made him a first-round talent. On defense, Hunter also took meaningful reps at cornerback. The early portion of the game didn't go smoothly for Jacksonville's defense as a whole. Pittsburgh's backups chewed up yardage and finished a drive with a touchdown while Hunter was absent. When the Jaguars rotated Hunter back in, though, the unit settled down. He didn't record a splash play and did miss a tackle, but the defense forced a punt on the next series, and the coaching staff sent him back to the sideline satisfied enough to end his night. What makes the moment notable is not the box score, 2 catches, 9 yards, but the sheer rarity of a player seeing live snaps on both sides of the ball in the Super Bowl era. Hunter, who publicly wanted to continue playing both receiver and defensive back at the next level, has been the center of an unusual roster experiment. NFL teams almost never ask players to split roles